Hi, I'm Jane, your virtual clinical trial coordinator. Let's take a few minutes and discuss how I can virtually join your clinical trial team to increase patient enrollment while reducing your costs for outreach, pre-screening, and scheduling. Sites are overwhelmed with administrative tasks, too busy at times, and often can't get to all the activities needed to maintain a high level of consistent patient engagement for active clinical trials. Some questions I receive from sites like yours: Jane, can you communicate with thousands of patients across our community about our active clinical trials? Of course I can. I use SMS-based communication to send one monthly personalized text message to your patients about your active and recruiting studies. Did you know 98% of patients prefer text messaging versus logging into their EHR to receive information about clinical trials? And just to brag a little, I speak 25 languages and respond 24 hours a day. And it doesn't stop there. I can also help answer general questions patients may have. Of course, I'm programmed with a series of questions I'm permitted to respond to and what I'm not able to discuss. Typically, questions I do not answer include information about a specific clinical trial or questions about providing specific medical care. For example, I can help the patient answer simple questions like, what's a placebo? Does this site offer travel reimbursement for a clinical trial? Or what's the address of the research site? But I will not answer if a patient asks what medications they need to take. Jane, can you help with pre-screening patients? Yes, I'm very efficient. Every day, I review your list of active clinical trials, review the public screening criteria on clinicaltrials.gov, and generate the best 10 to 15 medical questions to ask your patients to determine if the patient is a good candidate for any of your clinical trials. These are medical intake questions and never study-specific questions. Again, using interactive text, I ask the patients to complete each question. I draft the medical intake questions with a basic comprehension level and can further simplify the questions if the patient doesn't understand. I will then gather the patient's responses and generate an email to the study coordinator informing the team of a new interested patient and outlining a study match for each patient through a new submission form. So what does the submission form include? Glad you asked. I will provide the collected information about the patient and identify the best matches against your current studies from the information the patient has provided. We never use EHR data. I will provide detail as to which study the patient would best qualify for and rank the qualification for each study. For a matched study, I even generate the remaining questions your team should have for each patient for the studies we match them to. In the submission form, I will also include a copy of the entire digital conversation with the patient for your records. You might be asking yourself, what actions does my team take after receiving the patient submission forms? We have a few options. Your team can contact the patient directly to schedule a call or visit, or I can assist coordinating with the patient and find an open time slot on your calendar through Calendly. I will send friendly reminders to the patient several times to complete the scheduling. If there is a study amendment, or when you activate a new study, I will retrospectively review all previous patient responses to see if any of the patients are eligible for the new study. If I identify an eligible patient, I will create a patient submission form through the same process mentioned previously. The greater number of questions that are completed by the patient, the larger our disease profile and the greater our accuracy for study matching. Another question I often receive: can you communicate with healthcare providers about my site and make sure Dr. Smith down the street is aware of our clinical trials each month? Of course, healthcare providers play a very important role in bringing clinical trial awareness to patients. I send hundreds of personalized emails monthly to healthcare providers in your community to bring awareness about active clinical trials at your site. I can also respond to basic questions from Dr. Smith if needed, like, for example, if Dr. Smith asks if you have a clinical trial for type 2 diabetes that enroll patients with COPD, I can provide the study details directly. I'm also working on a new skill set. I will help bring awareness about active or enrolling clinical trials at your site through various social media channels. I will manage creating weekly social media posts on behalf of your institution to create clinical trial awareness at your site and build a follower base. The type of posts I will create will not focus on a specific clinical trial, but rather will highlight any podcasts, video interviews, articles about potential medical breakthroughs related to your clinical trial portfolio, and of course, sharing your entire list of active clinical trials. We live in the time where we simply don't have the resources to engage with thousands of patients each month. Why spend time and resources when you can use technology to assist patients and caregivers to stay informed about clinical trials and help them navigate your available clinical trials? I am ready to join your team and support you at any time.